What's up guys, this is Star and welcome back to the channel. Stellar Blade and all its jiggly glory is less than 2 months away at this point, and in today's video, the developers have confirmed some new information that some players were wondering about. We've also got brand new gameplay to show off from PlayStation's website that tells us a lot about the game's combat. Make sure you leave a like on the video as it really helps to push my content out into the algorithm. I'm aiming to make the best Stellar Blade content on YouTube, and today's video will absolutely be worthy of that, so let's get right into it. Alright friends, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Hyung-tae Kim, is still on that rockstar grind, doing press tours with a bunch of different media outlets. Game Informer just put out issue number 364, and in this issue there's an interview with Kim and Stellar Blade's technical director, Lee, where they talk about a lot of what we already knew, but they also hit us with some new facts that got slipped in there, like confirmation of post-release content, for example. I had reported before that there would be no DLC for Stellar Blade, but I might have been wrong about that. When talking about the different cosmetic options, the article says, costumes serve as one of the rewards for completing side quests, but don't expect wearing different outfits to change Eve's stats. The goal is to make sure no singular clothing item is emphasized. They want players to choose the outfits based on personal preference rather than statistical significance. So that actually confirms that the outfits are purely cosmetic. There won't be any stat buffs or nerfs depending on what Eve is wearing, which is something that players were wondering. Approximately 30 costumes will be discoverable throughout the course of the game, whether just by stumbling across them, receiving them as rewards, or creating them through found recipes. And this last bit is the best part. The team also plans to add more after release, confirming there will be some kind of post-launch content. Whether that comes in the form of DLC or not, we'll have to wait to find out. It could just be a back-end update where the player updates the game and the cosmetics are already there, or it could just be an actual DLC. I figured that this was going to happen no matter what. A game like this that focuses on cosmetics would definitely add more after the fact, but how much it happens will probably depend on the game's sales. Pre-orders were looking really impressive at one point, so I think this is going to sell really well, so that would justify more cosmetics. Kim had also mentioned a possible collaboration with their mobile game Nikke, so post-launch skins might have something to do with that. My fellow Nikke players in the comments, let me know if there's a character from that game whose look that Eve should borrow. We also learn in this interview that the sword that Eve uses is going to be the only one in the game. Some players were asking if there were other swords that can be either unlocked or crafted, especially since we can unlock the ranged weapon, but the article confirms there's only the one sword. Kim used the term ingredients and recipes when describing creating certain costumes, but Stellar Blade will not have players crafting new weapons. The Stellar Blade is Eve's only weapon, besides the shooting obviously, but the sword can be improved to either swing faster or deliver more critical hits, but the team wants players to focus on the titular sword. So a little unfortunate we don't get to craft new weapons, but the upgrade feature does sound pretty cool. I'm also a little confused on the last part, because the article is saying here that the sword is actually called the Stellar Blade. If we go over to the new gameplay on the PlayStation website though, it tells us here that the sword is actually named the Blood Edge. It might be a translation error, or maybe Game Informer just assumed the sword's name. But either way, I think Blood Edge is a dope name for a sword. All iconic blades in media need a name. You've got Sting, the Buster Sword, Graflex. The Blood Edge fits in pretty nicely with that. Whether or not it's actually called the Blood Edge, we get to see it in action here in this new gameplay. Let's look at this footage because it reveals a lot of stuff we didn't know, especially as it pertains to combat. So this goes over the 4 main ways of fighting, and a little disclaimer here. I pulled this footage directly from the PlayStation website, but you'll have to forgive the quality. This is that 2008 Nokia, just got done recording Bigfoot and UFOs in 480p quality. But we can still see what's happening, and I'm gonna do my best to break down what we see. The HUD is actually a really good giveaway into what's going on here in combat. On the bottom right, we have what look like our skills assigned to each of our 4 buttons, X, square, triangle, and circle. And it looks like there's at least 2 different sets of skills that you can toggle with the bumpers. So we get to take at least 8 of these skills with us into combat, maybe more. On the left, we have some gadgets. Your health stims are on the up directional button, and maybe a grenade on the down button. Left and right directions don't seem to have anything assigned, but maybe they control something else, like camera. These 4 clips I have show us the different ways that we get to engage in combat, and this first one is Eve's basic attacks. The text blurb says, Armed with her one-handed blade, the Blood Edge, Eve's quick and strong attacks are simple, sharp, and brutal, leading into a variety of combo attacks. You'll need to master these quickly to survive. Since quick and strong are capitalized here, these are probably the two main types of attacks. Some games will call them light and heavy attacks. Here, I guess it's quick or strong. The combos we perform are probably done with different sequences, something like quick, quick, heavy, or heavy, quick, heavy. 3-hit combos are pretty standard in action games like this, but we'll probably be able to extend it out further than that. I'm not seeing a button for these basic attacks on the HUD, so I'm guessing these will be performed with the triggers, since bumpers control ability shortcuts, and X and square and all them control the skills themselves. We'll get to those skills in just a second. First, let's check out the ranged attacks, because there's a lot more to this than I first thought. So at some point in the game, our little drone buddy can be upgraded, and we get to use it as a wrist-mounted blaster. When the enemy's balance is disturbed, or when a successful repulse is triggered, the enemy's weak spot is exposed. Targeting the weak spot with the long-range weapon can inflict heavy damage. You can upgrade the drone from the console to use different types of ammunition. This is really similar to Jedi Survivor's blaster stance and how you could swap out the different types of shots your blaster could do. In this new footage, we see at least 5 different types of shots. There's the basic slug shot, shotgun shells, a lock-on homing shot called the Stinger, explosive shells, and the blaster cell, which turns your drone into a freaking laser cannon. There may or may not be more types of ammunition, but these ranged attacks are a lot more versatile than I thought they would be. I'm really happy to see that there's multiple types of shots. After that, we have the beta attacks and the burst attacks, and I briefly touched on these in my last video. On the left, you can see 2 meters. This one is labeled BE for beta energy, and this is what lets you use the beta skills. Beta energy is charged up by attacking the enemy, and when you have enough built up, you get to use the skills that you have assigned to the buttons on the right there. The beta skills are acquired and upgraded from the skill tree, and you get to upgrade them using skill points. So again, very similar to Jedi Survivor in that regard. In the combat sequences, you can see Eve actually hold and charge some of these skills before unleashing them. Not sure if that's just how they work or if the charge up is an optional thing for additional damage, but combining these beta skills with the basic attacks will open up a bunch of different combos. Then we also have the burst skills. The second meter here above BE is BU, which stands for burst energy. Burst energy is charged up when you pull off a perfect dodge, a blink, or a repulse. I'm not quite sure what a blink or a repulse is just yet. They're capitalized in these blurbs, so maybe they're a type of defense or some other kind of skill themselves. But just like with the beta skills, the burst skills can be used by charging up the BU meter. We get these skills at each region's base camp kiosk. That kiosk, I think, is most likely this thing here that we see in the trailer, looking like a vending machine of sorts. And in the trailer footage, we even get a glimpse of that aforementioned skill tree. So the tree is what gives us the beta skills, the kiosk gets us the burst skills. It really doesn't help that they're both starting with the letter B. Hopefully when we actually play the game, BE and BU will be easier to distinguish. This is all a really good look into the combat mechanics though, and just by studying the HUD, I think I have a better idea of how the game is going to play. There's also some new information about the world here on the PlayStation site, and some details about a character that's been very mysterious up until now. Taki, or maybe it's Tachi, the courageous leader of the 7th Airborne Squad. Taki is a decorated soldier, renowned for her tactical acumen. I'm guessing Taki for tactical. Renowned for her tactical acumen, combat, and survival skills. The mission to Earth leading an assault team into battle against the Naytiba couldn't have been in safer hands. They barely have a moment to take a breath of their home planet's air before they're confronted by a shocking attack by a Naytiba from beyond their darkest nightmares. So she's the boss. She's the leader of Eve's airborne unit, and it sounds like they come down to Earth together when the game starts. There was an earlier trailer that had a huge misdirect. It at least made me think that this character, Taki, was one of the Naytiba. We can see her suiting up in her armor and getting into a combat stance. When I first saw this, I thought she was a boss enemy of some kind, and this was her animation that plays before the fight. But now I think this is actually just a cutscene showing her suiting up, and the trailer was just stitched in such a way to make us think she's a villain. She may actually end up being a villain. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen somebody who's a friend in the beginning of the story who starts out on your side, only to have them betray you or join the bad guys later. It might be a red herring, or she could even end up being the big bad at the end. Either way, Taki looks badass. She's definitely got a no-nonsense vibe to her. We also get some blurbs about Adam and Lily, but nothing we didn't already know. As far as the world goes, there was this interesting bit about side quests from the Game Informer interview, where Kim says, for example, there's one series of consecutive side quests where Eve is trying to help a broken woman in an old pub. The woman used to be a singer, but now she's struggling to even stay alive. The missions Eve completes will help her recover mentally and physically, though Kim teases an unexpected ending. That honestly makes me think of long-running side quests in games like Ocarina of Time, specifically the quest to get the Bigoron sword, where you gotta do several consecutive quests back to back. Hearing it described like this is really making me nostalgic for those old story games like Zelda, so that's really cool. It feels like we're getting more and more news every day as we get closer to this game coming out. Let me know in the comments what you're looking forward to most about Stellar Blade, but that's gonna do it for today's video, guys. Shout out to the channel members, Duft Curse Hanover, Scoots McGee, Isaac S., Vilshalmler, and MinoDam8. Thank you for your continued support. If you'd like to have me read out your name at the end of my videos, consider becoming a member today. There's a bunch of other cool perks and several different levels for you to choose from. Hit that like button if you want to see more Stellar content. Consider subscribing and getting notified to the channel if you're new. And that's going to do it from me. This has been Star, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.